Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So today we're going to continuing series Model Museum, where I take a look at every single Sega Model 1, 2, and 3 game ever made that's not a racing game made by Sega, because I already did that retrospective last year, but that does give us Over Rev as an option because this was made by Jaleco and not Sega. And I don't know if it's an emulation thing, but the car in the attract screen always crashes and it makes me laugh every single time. But obviously the Model 2 is known for games like Daytona or Sega Rally, but I'm here to tell you Over Rev is, in my opinion, like 99% as good as those games. This is basically Daytona without an oval track made by a different company. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. And also leave me a comment and tell me if you ever played Over Rev, because I feel like this is a game that is rarely mentioned and deserves a lot more credit. If you've never played Over Rev before, I'm here to tell you it is just an amazing game. This, in some ways, I feel like might slightly be better than Daytona. I know that's blasphemous and you can yell at me in the comments down below, but when I'm playing this game, I just have an absolute blast of a time, and it does remind me in some ways of things that Daytona USA 2 would do on the Sega Model 3 later on, and I will give you some examples of that in the future. But if you see right here going through this little area, if we move over to the original Daytona, it does have a similar vibe as far as the courses are concerned. The handling is also similar as well. It seems like Jaleco was trying to hit on the success of something like Daytona, and they were using Sega's 3D boards for doing that. And it's a kind of a misnomer that all of the Sega Model 1, 2, and 3 games are made by Sega. The large majority of them were, but not every single game on the hardware was developed by Sega internally. Something like Over Rev may have been an entirely different team. But this is a classic arcade racing game. It's got great drifting mechanics, the graphics are absolutely incredible, and that is down to it running on the Sega Model 2C arcade board, which was the final and most powerful revision of Model 2. And a lot of people don't notice that there are 3 different versions of the Sega Model 2, the original, B, and then the C revision. But as we get into the second race here, all of the courses are very intelligently designed, and you do need to learn how to use that drifting mechanic to your advantage. Now, I will say bumping into any vehicle from any direction that's not the front is going to scrub a ton of speed off you. The number one way to lose this game is to hit an opponent from behind. You're going to lose all of your speed doing that. And you will see in the top right hand corner, it's telling us that we need to be 5th place or better to move on. That is how the championship mode in this game works. You need to get to that position or else you cannot advance with the race. We're currently in 6th. We need to finish in 5th or better to do it. And I love that they have this helicopter flying over as well. This game also has a lot of Ridge Racer vibes. It's almost like Jaleco took Ridge Racer as well as Daytona, combined them together, and they made a game with a combination of the best traits of both of those things. But again, moving back over to Daytona, you can just see, even though we're in the cockpit view, how similar these games are and how if you bump someone from behind, you scrub that much speed off of it. Over Rev kind of feels like Daytona's cousin. If you like Daytona and you've never played Over Rev, you absolutely have to check this game out. I'm playing it on the Model 2 emulator and it works spectacularly, although I do recommend you use a wheel and kind of dial in those analog settings. I get a lot of comments for these racing games with people saying analog controls like an Xbox One controller are too sensitive. Use a wheel. If you have space, you're going to have a lot better time doing it. And you will see here I'm coming around the last corner and I was able to finish in 2nd place, although that has no bearing on the next race. When you go into the next race, you will be back in position 8 and you need to fight your way back to that finishing position. And obviously as the courses go on, that becomes more difficult. We need to finish 3rd or better, and you will see there that one little bump on the back bumper of that vehicle, you will lose like half of your speed. Navigating around the course is only half the battle. Getting around your opponent cars is the real challenge of this game. But when you have a nice drift, you have a nice turn, and you pass them, it just 100% feels as good as any racing game Sega's ever made, in my opinion. And I will also say that this game has an absolutely spectacular soundtrack, which I'll let you listen to in just a moment. But visually, this game is also just an absolute treat. But the soundtrack, trust me, it's good. It's a great soundtrack, and my favorite part is the fact that out of the box, the sound effects are balanced well against the actual soundtrack. I know that's a weird thing to love about it, but some games seem to have the tire squealing so loud that you can't actually hear the music. Now you'll see that I finished 4th place, and that's not good enough to move on, so we need to do the course again. But this is my favorite course in the game. I love the start to finish nature of it. It's not laps, it's point A to point B, and it has that kind of touge vibe to it. I'm always trying to pronounce that name right, that Japanese end-to-end racing thing, kind of like Initial D. But again, on the visual aspect, all of the lighting in that tunnel, all of the graphics, all of the different backgrounds and textures just 100% look incredible. Jaleco is not known as well as Sega is, but when they put their best developers and their best artists on a game, they could make something that looks spectacular like Over Rev here. This game is so smooth and fluid, the physics, control, and handling are perfection, and it looks and sounds great while doing it. That's what I mean when I say they could stand toe-to-toe with Sega. The only thing that's not great are the interstitial titles here between races. They are hilarious, and we actually win this. You're going to see the final title screen, and it is an absolute blast. But again, this game just has everything going for it, and the final city race, the track layout, all of the buildings, all of the neon signs, just 100% have a total vibe. You want to stop and stare at what's going on around you, but this is a racing game, and doing that is going to be a one-way ticket into the wall or your opponent. But again, just kind of navigate around, learning the courses, learning the drifts, and understanding what the game is asking of you is spectacular. Had a bad turn there, got hung up on that car, and you'll see I got knocked back. And of course, this being the final race, you need to finish first or better, or you're not going to see the end credits. But it gives you enough motivation to do so, and this game does have some other modes outside of this that I will show you later on, including some hidden vehicles that are absolutely hilarious. But this just has that exact Daytona 2 vibe going for it. If you're not familiar with Daytona 2, let me show you now. A race through a city. Now, of course, Daytona 2 is going to look better. It's on the Model 3, much more powerful. But it kind of feels like Daytona 2 actually took a little bit of inspiration from Over Rev. Now, it might just be a coincidence. Obviously, races take places in cities all the time. But leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. Do you think the developers at Sega for Daytona 2 had some inspiration from Over Rev? Or do you think I'm just reading into it too much? You'll see I am in 2nd place right now. I'm coming around this final corner here, but I hit the wall, and that 1st place player just takes off on me. And that's what happens in this game, especially in the later stages. If you make a mistake, you are going to pay for it. If you race clean, you're going to be able to win. I was so close to passing him right there, but I just drifted a little bit too heavily into these walls, and that's going to cause me to have that problem. But that's the thing, if you lose a race, you want to come back and immediately try again. But you'll see I finally did hunt him down with some clean racing, and I'm playing this on normal difficulty, and I am able to come around this final corner. When you win an Over Rev, it feels absolutely incredible. It is such a sensation of speed, performance, and you get those incredible visuals and awesome music at the same time. But like I said, the hilarious thing is when you actually win this race, the next title that comes up is just so funny. It's like they didn't have time to actually make these things. You have what look like twins, modeled strangely, but you've done it, baby. You are the greatest. And honestly, I probably am the greatest. So leave me a comment down below and tell me that you agree. But all jokes aside, that end title is absolutely hilarious. But if you go back into the course selection on any given race, you can just kind of take sort of a time attack on all of the courses. If you hold down certain controls while you're selecting your cars, you can get stuff like a Japanese flatbed truck. Now trust me, this is not an easy vehicle to control. It is so wide, drifting becomes a lot more difficult, but it is so much fun just to experience this. And I love the model there with that see-through cockpit. You can actually just see the road from the truck. This game is just an absolute blast, and I know it's one that not everyone has played, and that's the thing about the Sega Model 2. A lot of the most popular games on it are games that everyone will have played at least once, but it does have a host of games that maybe you've never seen in arcades. And trust me, if you go into an arcade right now, there is a good chance that you're going to see a Daytona cabinet. There is a very, very small chance you're going to see an Over Rev cabinet. But if you do, 100% throw some coins into it, because it is very rare right now. But Jaleco could do the same thing Sega did. That is the main takeaway of this video. This is as fun as playing Daytona USA, in my opinion. Has it held up as well? Yes. Does it look as good? Yes. Are the controls and physics as good? Yes. If you have nostalgia for Daytona, you might think this isn't as good, but if you take this and kind of throw that nostalgia out the window, you're going to realize Over Rev, 10 out of 10 banger. But that's all I got for this one. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.